I was always kind of worried about the ending of Prince Caspian, just because the ending of Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, they cut out a lot. The huge chunk of the book. They basically cut out an entire chapter with Aslan restoring the statues and everything. You know, you read the book, and that kind of goes on, and there's a lot of stuff they did not include, and I was all reduced to just like one brief moment. And I was saddened by that, and just replaced it with the battle. You know, I thought there was some great stuff in the book they could have used. But so I was worried about what are they going to do about Prince Caspian. Of course, has the slightly unusual, but I still think it fits. You know, but in a movie, I thought, is this going to fit? The scene where Aslan is riding through Narnia, and setting the Telmarines free and healing everybody and all that. The boys get turned into pigs and all that. Are they going to include that? And I thought, oh, they're probably going to cut it down or cut it out. And basically, that's what happened. They basically cut it out pretty much completely. The way it is in the book is, the Pevensies, they find Aslan's How, and then the girls go with Aslan, and the boys go meet Caspian. Then we kind of forget about the girls for a while. We just follow the boys. And the boys, they meet Caspian, there's the battle, and then the Telmarines are running away, and they find the bridge is gone. Oh, what happened to the bridge? Then Lewis takes us backwards in time, and he talks about how Lucy and Susan rode on Aslan again, and they ride through Narnia and everything, and they free that boy and turn those boys into pigs, and Nurse is reunited with Caspian, and so it's interesting. So that's kind of interesting. It's not in chronological order in the book. Lewis does some time traveling there. The movie, there's no real split. The characters never really split up. I mean, yeah, Lucy does ride off towards the end, kind of during the battle, but that's kind of it. There's no like, oh, there's one group of characters and one group of characters like it kind of was in the book. And then they have the battle, and then I think the scene after the battle, where the Narnians are triumphantly entering the castle, and there's the confetti, and the Telmarine people are cheering. I thought that was really supposed to kind of evoke the scene in the book, where they're riding through, and the crowd behind them is kind of getting bigger and bigger. So I really like the scene. I wish it had been like twice as long. They really needed more of it. But of course, the thing that was noticeably missing from Prince Caspian was Bacchus and Silenus. I said in my third video, I think they're going to be in the movie, because I didn't expect Father Christmas to be in the movie, and he did end up in there, so I was pretty confident they would make it. They would make it somehow, but they were not in the movie, and it's even more surprising when you consider that they had actors on set. They had an actor in costume on set, and for whatever reason got cut out of the movie. I don't know why. Deleted scene, I suppose, but I remember when I was on set, I saw concept art of Bacchus and Silenus, and went, yes, they're going to be in the movie. So that was really disappointing. What Bacchus and Silenus represent in the book is a return to the old ways. Tumnus mentions them in Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and then to see them appear again, they kind of represent after hundreds of years of corruption, now we're returning to the old days. They do feel, now they're not really out of place. It's still from the Greek myth, but they do feel out of place. They're different from the rest of the Narnians, of course, and so they should, I think. This time in Narnia, where it's being ruled by Miraz, Bacchus and Silenus, of course they feel out of place. That's kind of the point, is that we've drifted so far from the old days that what their reappearance is weird, and so it should. And I think it's a very, it's a joyful, it's a big moment in the book. It's kind of what Prince Caspian's about, the return to the old ways after 100 years of corruption. And so it was very disappointing they weren't in there. I think they accomplished basically the same thing, though, with the trees. They did a little more with the trees. When Trumpkin is in the boat talking to the Pevensies, and he says, oh, the trees, no one's heard from them since, And then when Lucy, she has that dream about where the trees are moving, and which is different from the book. It's not a dream in the book. But and then she wakes up, and she sees the real thing, and they're not moving anymore. And she actually knocks someone and says, wake up. And you get to really see that longing for the old days, the sadness that they're gone, and the longing that they might return. I thought they really captured that, and it really pays off at the end when the trees come in to save the day, and it's a great moment. And I don't see why, when Trumpkin was talking, why couldn't he say, and the river god, no one's heard from the river god, because then when the river god appears, it would make so much more sense. I mean, like, I don't see why couldn't they just thrown that line in there, and it would have made so much more sense. Like, because I know a lot of people who haven't read the book were like, what the heck, what's up with the river god? What was that water guy at the end? And also, I wonder, in that scene, could Trumpkin have said something about Bacchus and Silenus? I mean, could he have said, oh, old Bacchus and Silenus, no one's heard from them, or something, or somewhere in the movie you would have thought they could have set them up somehow. and or just had a cameo somewhere, like when they were riding through the castle. You would think they could have fit them in somewhere. I don't know, but there was a thread long ago before we saw any footage or anything. It was a long time ago where we were talking about Bacchus and Silenus on Narnia Web, and a lot of people kind of said it wouldn't be Prince Caspian without Bacchus and Silenus. And I think that they got what's important to Prince Caspian, important to me at least. And it feels like the book and the thing that Bacchus and Silenus represent, the return to the old ways, is I think definitely in the movie. It's very strongly. So they still got it, but as a fan, their absence is definitely a pretty low blow. That's one of the grudges I think I'm going to hold against the filmmakers for a while whenever I watch the movie, is that where is Bacchus and Silenus? They're not completely essential in the sense that they did achieve basically the same thing without them, but their absence is definitely, that's pretty hard to take. And hopefully, if there's like an extended version, we'll see some of Bacchus and Silenus, I hope. An aspect of the ending of the book that a certain Narnia Weber and I have talked a lot about, something that's really important to him, is the fact that in the book it's not really a victory. In his words, it's not so much a victory over the Telmarines as it is a victory for the Telmarines, and that when Aslan is riding through Narnia, and he's freeing everybody and healing everyone, and they all join Aslan immediately. And it's not just a military defeat, and he felt that wasn't captured in the movie at all. And cutting out all that, all that Bacchus stuff, with Aslan, I agree. It's not really in the movie. I still think the idea is kind of there, just the fact that they had set up well enough that the Telmarines don't like Miraz in general, and even a lot of the soldiers don't like Miraz. And another thing he said was, when the Narnians are entering the castle, why would the Telmarines be cheering? That's their fathers and brothers and sons in there. Why would they be cheering? And I see what he's saying, and I guess if you put it under a microscope, yeah, you do see that. But in the emotional context of the film, I thought they kind of set up, maybe this doesn't make sense, but I always felt like, there were the soldiers and there were the people. The soldiers were this evil group that were, controlled by Miraz and were controlling and oppressing these people. And so if you put it under a microscope, yeah, you can see that. But in the emotional context of the film, I felt like it played well. It made sense why they were so happy. When Miraz is crowned king, they're kind of like, "Long live the king, long live the king," kind of half-heartedly cheering. And when the Narnians come in, they're going crazy. They're happy that Miraz is dead. And also after the Telmarines are defeated, in the water, that they walk out. And they're handing the Narnians their swords. You can see that there's peace between them now, and so I still think that the idea was captured well enough in the movie. But the ending of the movie overall, I thought the battle was overly long, and then I loved when the trees come in. I wish that had gone just a bit longer. That was really powerful. Great that they had Reapercheap getting his tail back. It's a memorable, funny scene from the book. And then when they're entering the castle, of course, I love that. Wish that had been longer as well, and wish there'd been a Bacchus and Silenus cameo. And then I thought it was cool they took the time to explain where the Telmarines came from. And I hated the kiss, of course. I talked about that in another video, so I won't go into here. The kiss was terrible. And then I was luckily Lucy had the same hairstyle she did at the beginning of the movie, so that when they transitioned back to London, it seamless transition, great transition there. And of course, the last line in the movie, I left my new torch in Narnia, is also the last line in the book, and they did a really good job taking that line. And I didn't see how they could make it work in the movie, but they did. It worked great. They played it for a laugh. It played very well. Train pulled out. Aslan roars. Fade to black. So I walk out feeling happy. I thought the third act of the movie is my least favorite part, just because of how much they cut, and the battle is kind of long. And but it's still, I thought the very end was well. I liked the call, that song at the end. It played just fine. It made sense to me, maybe because I'd already heard the song on the soundtrack. Maybe that's the reason. But I thought it played really well. And so I walk out with this movie. Obviously have some gripes with it as a fan, but think it's a pretty good film. It's an adaptation that captures what I love about the book, even though it's not exactly like the book. And so after years of anticipation, the overall consensus is I walk out feeling happy, feeling like they got what I love about the book, even though it's not exactly like the book. So I walk out happy.